the country is not going to the people. It's going to the banking system. It's going to the people who have to take money back out from this country, and it's going towards interest repayment. So that's why Amartya Sen has compared this to antibiotic and rat poison. The patient is ill and desperately needs the medicine, but can only have the tablet that contains both of them together. And the euro was a terrible mistake, Paul Krugman, another noted economist, has said. So we now realizing the implications of things that have gone wrong. The country is facing sudden stop of private investments also. Obviously, when the rating was reduced to junk bonds about 4 years back. Now it is the lowest possible. I don't know what that lowest rating is. Below junk rating is that kind of rating. The sovereign bonds of the economy enjoy that kind of rating now. They do not get any money from any sources. So the wages have gone down. Unemployment is now 25% of the total population, and a huge underemployment. If you look into the structure of this country, this has got this is quite similar. In that respect, is quite similar. It's a large number of self-employed population. A lot of people have their own small businesses like India. These people do not pay taxes. They simply do not pay taxes. You know, I've got statistics later to prove that. Abundant corruption in the country, much like India. Abundant tax evasion in the country, much like India. It's only the higher, more than middle income group and less than the top income group, the middle bracket, which pays all the taxes. And they have a very interesting tax mechanism. Since 2008 onward, there has been a recession in the economy. They have allowed postponement of tax liabilities, like 143A, the 143(1) that we pay, self-assessment, that we pay. This is now you cannot pay. You need not pay. You can promise that you will be paying it 4 years later on interest. So you can file your return without paying your taxes. Your taxes can be accumulated to be paid 143A money. Can be postponed later. So about 89% of the tax dues are postponed, have already been postponed. So that's it. Corruption is so high that when compared to India, it's not as high as in India, but it's certainly very high. Many of the government officers' salary is low. Again, similar, you can compare it to Indian situation. Salary is very low, but the total income is many times higher. Same situation. Then I come to the government spending. The government spending has been very, very high during that period. During when the money was flooding into the country, they were spending a lot. Only after 2011, they started improving. But before that, the government spending was high. After the new government took over recently, they actually started promoting pension schemes for people, since there was a mass scale unemployment in the country. This is also a big drain on the resources. The amount of pension that this government spends is per capita very, very high compared to any other country in the world. It's like the highest compared to other countries of the world. A huge amount of the money, all the 60 euro withdrawal that you are seeing, about 25% of the withdrawal, people who queue up for withdrawal are the pension earners. And so it's a huge amount of government spending on unproductive thing which is taking place. And a very interesting thing I wanted to tell you. The finance minister who has recently resigned had actually come out with a very innovative idea. He said he would give more pension to people out of the money that they recover from undisclosed income. So you inform that somebody is hiding income and government is able to recover the taxes, that money would go towards pension to the people. So they have tried all kind of interesting, weird measures, but ultimately problem is that the money has been going towards unproductive, towards either interest payment or towards pension to the people, to a large number of its population. I would just skip. Yeah, the tax evasion thing I was talking about. Each year tax has been below the expected level. 2010, the estimated tax evasion cost for the government was $20 billion. It is as of 2012, tax evasion was widespread in Greece with a score of 36%, ranked as the most corrupt country in the European Union. So it is ranked as the most corrupt country in the European Union. Our rank would be, I don't know how much, but they have managed. 35% से ऊपर pass हो जाता है हमारे यहाँ, so they have managed to pass that actually. More than 35% में है वो. They are certainly a corrupt nation, and the score improved. I mean, this low score is 43 means improvement in score. Now the score is 43%, which is at par with Italy, Bulgaria, and Romania, who are equally corrupt. So it has managed to rise a couple of ranks to come at par with three other nations, but still continues to be a very, very corrupt economy. Everything, VAT evasion is very, very common because it's a self-business kind of economy where 30% of the population is are professionals and self-businessmen, sole proprietors kind of businessmen. So tax evasion is very common. Government puts a lot of burden on the businesses for the social security contribution, which is also very easily evaded by the non-corporate section of society. And so it's a very, very high kind of black money economy. It is estimated that the amount of tax evasion by Greece stored in Swiss bank is 80 billion euro. Praful bhai could tell me how much is there in how much of India's money is there in Swiss bank. It runs into at least 5,000 times this money according to one estimate. But we are a big economy and we have been corrupt for long. So so that's it, So but it's quite substantial amount of money stored in Swiss bank, and as has happened in a country in last 2 years, they are negotiating with Swiss authorities now to disclose the details of the people who have held money there. Same thing, exactly replica of our model. They are doing exactly same thing. So, and Swiss government has agreed to cooperate and give the information. Almost everything that has happened in India, same kind of thing is happening there. The government has agreed. Some names are already out, and they're working on them, and so on and so forth. So we have a similar thing when it comes to. So data for 2012 placed the Greek black economy at 24% of its GDP. And I tried to find the data for India. The last line, unfortunately, in bold line. This could be 75% in case of India. So, yeah. So the ratio of black money to GDP, we do not have concrete statistics in India, but according to a very reliable institution which has been commissioned by the UPA government, the National Institute for Public Finance and Policy, this ratio comes to 75% of GDP. So while we blame Greece for being a black economy of Europe, we should not forget that we are their big brother. Yeah, pardon? That would be an improvement, kind of, yes. Greeks' outstanding undisputed tax liability is 89% of the tax liability that they have there. So they owe, like this is undisputed tax liability. In India, we have huge disputed tax liability which may not come ultimately, because we know that when litigation happens, when the assessing officer assesses a figure at 5 crore rupees, ultimately it settles down at 5 lakh rupees. So it's a notional kind of liability usually, but this is undisputed tax liability has not been collected. So that makes it precarious. The government has resources which is not coming in. And I was talking of corruption, and I wanted to highlight certain points. Naresh is looking at me. We have time, yeah. To keep within the monetary union guidelines, the monetary union guidelines, the government of Greece has also been misreporting the country's official economic statistics. As I told you, they have been window dressing. At the beginning of 2010, it was discovered that Greece has paid Goldman Sachs and other banks hundreds of millions of dollars in fees since 2001 for arranging transactions that hit the actual level of borrowing. So, out in the open, without mincing a word, naming the institutions who have done it, and it's billions of dollars being paid as fees so that they can arrange the transactions in such a way that the balance sheet looks better, looks rosy. There is a way of loan currency swapping. Loans are, by way of a mutual accommodation transactions, loans are hidden, so to say, from the balance sheet, and they are shown in a different currency, so they don't look like the proper loans for the purpose of calculating the debt to GDP ratio. So this is what 2001 onward the country, 2010 one onward the country has been resorting to. And as I said, if situation is bad and you are into a crisis situation, into a debt crisis situation, you need more money to keep the ball rolling, and this is what they kept on doing, and the bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and ultimately at some stage going to burst. So this is what has happened with this economy. The purpose of these deals made by several successive governments was to enable them to continue spending while hiding the actual deficit from the European Union. The revised statistics reveal that Greece had all the years from 2000 to 2010 had exceeded the European stability criteria, with the yearly deficit exceeding the maximum permissible limit. So they were window dressing. They knew they were in a bad situation. They kept on showing a balance sheet which was much better than what it looked like. So we ultimately came to a $60 euros a day kind of situation. That is the maximum that people can have, no more money. And this is also like at the mercy of the institutions against whom they have voted. You know, they said that we don't want you, but unki bhi majburi hai. They have to give, otherwise this country would starve. So they are just allowing this kind of money to be given to them. The stock exchange has been closed. The Western Union has stopped working in this country now, so which means no foreign money transfer. No foreign relative would send the money to them. They see the value of money. This is a country where the value of money unfortunately cannot devalue because it's euro. But the real value is depleting so fast that, and there is a threat of sudden change in currency. Nobody would like to risk dealing with this kind of country at this point in time. So this is the situation. The economic and social effects of this. Greece suffered the worst decline in 2011 when it clocked growth of -6.9% a year, which ended to 28% lower than in 2005. And during that year, 111,000 Greek companies went bankrupt. 27% of, was higher than in 2010. So you can imagine a country of the size of Bombay, where 1 lakh companies going bankrupt in a year, and previous year about 70,000 companies had gone bankrupt. So it's like everybody failing. Everything is failing. They are failing, so bank is failing. And bank is failing, so more money is required to recapitalize the bank. And which means all the money that comes in goes towards recapitalizing and improving those institutions. Nothing comes to the real economy. So as this I was telling you about, the finance minister announced that the government would establish a new fund aimed at helping those who were hit the hardest from the government's austerity measure. The money for this agency would come from crackdown on tax evasion. Youth unemployment is about 65%. Total unemployment is 25%. Youth unemployment, which means new graduates and new qualified people are not getting the jobs at all. And there were 8 lakh people without unemployment benefit and health coverage, and 4 lakh families without a single breadwinner in their family. So it's all charity money, it's all pension money, it's all government doles which is surviving the economy. Now the international ramifications we have discussed before. I would just skip that. So I come to those 5 figures that I have been talking about. 61% was the Oxy vote. Okay, 61% of the people wanted this economy. They wanted to reject the proposal of the Troika. Yeah, £60 is what they get at the maximum. 3.9 billion is the total debt that this economy owes to the world. 25.6% unemployment. One-fourth of the people are not getting the job. And 174 is the debt to GDP ratio. So this is what sums up the precarious state of the economy, which is doomed. You know, if you look into this figure, it is doomed. And in short, a couple of slides, and then I would explain something about India. Greece is bankrupt; it cannot pay its debt, let alone may forced on it to be bailed out. There must be a managed default and a restarting of the engine of recovery. Unless Greece is allowed to default itself and to, bankruptcy laws were created in the 14th century England to take care of this kind of situation. When a businessman was not able to pay his liabilities, he would be declared an insolvent, so that he can declare, whatever he's got, he would pay to everybody, and he gets a certificate from the court that he's a discharged insolvent now, which means he has paid off his liability. He does not owe anything to anybody now. Whatever is gone, and he can start on a clean slate from this point in time. Precisely this should have been done in this case. Could not be done because of the fact that this was linked to euro. They could not be declared insolvent. Greece within the Eurozone was allowed to borrow riskily and was lent to riskily for obvious reasons, just to keep the ball rolling. Any fool would know this. Perhaps Euro fool did not know about it. They knew about it. They had no choice, unfortunately, and they continued with that. The IMF last week admitted that the Greece debt were unsustainable. But such is the political arthritis. They knew that this was unsustainable, unfortunately. This is what I said, this is where politics takes over economics. They knew this was unsustainable. They knew right from 2009 that this economy is unsustainable. They continued to sustain it for their vested interest, to ensure that it continues to be a part of Eurozone, it continues to exist, and so on. It is the last sentence is important. It is the bankers, not Greeks, who are being bailed out. They want Greek taxpayers to go on paying interest even if the principal is beyond reach. Principal cannot be repaid. Interest is being paid out of the money that is coming in. So it is the bankers who are being rescued. And Greece cannot grow and cannot service future borrowings, let alone past ones. It is seeing Europe's worst recession. I've covered this, so I'll just skip them and come to a little on impact on India. Well, we kept on talking. The stock market pundits are always optimistic in a, when the market is high. They say, "हमारे को तो कोई फर्क पड़ता ही नहीं." We don't have direct relationship with them. So, but the Reserve Bank of India has admitted. RBI governor is a very candid and a frank man, and he has admitted that this may have severe implications on India also if things go wrong. Because if Greece cracks, if it cracks, Europe cracks. If Europe cracks, things are going to be very, very dangerous for India. India's trade with Greece may be almost next to zero, but India's trade with Europe is 5,30,000 crore rupees, or 72 billion euros. So we are a major strategic partner with Europe. So if there is trouble in Europe, we are going to be affected. Software and engineering exports are majorly to be affected if things go wrong with Europe. And as I said, two countries cannot be directly involved, but if it spreads across Europe, we are equally at peril. Secondly, India needs to learn from Greece's lessons. Our debt to GDP ratio is very high. Our corruption index is high. The credibility of the government is always a question mark. The figures that the government comes out is always a question mark. So we are no different from this nation when it comes to. Only thing is we have our own currency that gives us certain buffer. And the way the currency has depleted during last few years, dollar going from $40 to $65 is a proof of the adjustment that is taking place. So we are losing ground, certainly, but that is being recovered by way of devaluing our currency by automatic market mechanism, which was not happening here. So not that we are much better off. We are also equally precarious, but we are adjusting because of that. But that means that in order to improve, in order that Achhe Din comes up, we will have to take care of all these factors also. Corruption index so high. Taxes, we have a similar, not that kind of bad situation, but similar situation. Corruption, actually we have a worse situation. Government spending on non-priority sectors, we also have similar kind of situation. So India will have to learn a lesson. And finally, India will have to learn a lesson that depending upon external borrowings that Greece was depending upon is going to be dangerous. India is also depending a lot on FDI and FII, basically FII. FII is a fair weather friend. Things go wrong, they would immediately get out of it. So we will have to channelize domestic resources, increase domestic consumption, increase domestic employment, to ensure that our economy, which used to be a 20 years back, our economy was a sluggish and slow economy, but was a self-sustaining economy because we did not have much link with the outside world. Now that we have linked with the outside world, it becomes all the more important that our economy remains a strong local economy also. Instead of relying on foreign investments, we have local investment being tapped, and which is equally competing with the foreign resources. That becomes important for our country. Comparing Greece's example and India's example to the recent meltdown in China, the recent meltdown in China has been in respect of the stock market at the moment. It's 30% fall, steep fall, but the fall pertains to the stock market, not to the real economy. So far so good. But if it ultimately reflects in the real economy, and it is likely to reflect in the real economy for the simple reason that unlike India and Greece, in China, all the investment in stock market belongs to the domestic investors, to the local investors, to the small investors. In India, a small percentage belongs to the small investors. Everything to LIC basically, whom we like to call domestic institutional investor, and to the foreign institutional investors. Look, the contribution of the individual investor is very low. China, it's primarily domestic individual investors. So if the economy is bad, if 30% fall is going to affect them also. So it's going to be dangerous. So we'll have to rely on domestic money, but we'll have to ensure that there is enough employment, there is enough consumption, enough growth to sustain this kind of employment of this money in the long run, so that if foreigners pull the plug, we are not caught unawares. This is something which we'll have to remember. And there is one more lesson that India needs to learn: banking system. Our banking system is precarious. We have NPAs far exceeding the norms. We have NPAs being window dressed as proper loans. You know how they manage things. Everybody knows about it, how it's being managed. And unfortunately, most of the defaults are coming from large corporate houses and not from small institutions. Farmers' suicide and the small loan is just a part of the story. The major chunk of the money that is being lost is to the corporates, to the large corporates. So this is a lesson that India will have to learn. If the banking system is not robust, we can perhaps get into this kind of situation. I considered certain other positives for India. Fall in crude oil in the short term because of the recession in the West that has happened could be a short-term positive for India, and we look forward. Since our major import bill is of crude oil, we are always happy with that. Indian tourism could perhaps get a little boost because of the in the short run, where the economy of Greece is in doldrums. Yeah, that's it. So what we should be doing, I'm concluding with this slide. What we should be doing: Greek tragedy should be considered as a reality check for India. Any Greece-like trigger and the economy may spiral downwards, because we have lots of parameters which are common with this. So unless we improve, we are also sitting on a volcano. For Make in India to succeed, Modi government will have to make many policy changes, strengthen the banking system, plug the corruption loophole, corruption hole, create, I'm sorry for the spelling mistake here, create a more efficient tax regime, and strengthen the purchasing power of Indian consumer. Unless this is done, achhe din would never come. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm sure a lot many questions and answers would be there actually. The presentation was very lively presentation was there. The forum is open now.
So that, because unfortunately because of corruption, the cost per person in the government is very high in the country. So they want to get rid of the excess manpower. The cost is so high that, as I said, average government, it's a recorded statistic that average government servant earns about 8 times more than his salary income. So they want to change that system. So they wanted it to be out. Economy would be spending less by giving pension to that person than they are spending by on that person, because of the corruption factor involved. So that was the reason. That was an austerity measure, but unfortunately, in an economy where there is already a drain on the resources, this became a big problem. So that's that social cost of government is very, very high in that country. So that was one of the major factors for the situation. Fortunately, we don't have resources, so we don't give. So, sure. Greece would survive, and I'll be very happy if Greece delinks itself from euro for their benefit. I would be very happy if it delinks itself from euro. It will be good for them and for Europe also in the long run, because see, euro is a uniform currency which is supposed to take all those 19 countries along on an equal pace. But if they have a weakling, it'll keep on dragging. 10 years later, it's going to be a problem again. And if this currency, if there is a settlement on 17th of July now, that would mean delaying the thing. They have been delaying it from 2009. That would mean delaying it again and again. It's like passing it on to the next generation perhaps. So ultimately, the bubble is going to grow bigger and bigger. The best thing is, as I said, bankruptcy law. Best thing is, let that country detach itself, declare itself bankrupt, print new notes, and get going. That would be ideal thing for them. So if it delinks, I'll be very happy. If it does not, it means that the problem, it's like a surgical operation where you decide to cut off an arm, a limb, perhaps. So it's like you need to do that. But if you don't do that, ultimately it's going to. Yeah. Yeah, Eurozone would be shattered. So their political ambitions would be shattered. That's it. But it doesn't happen. The world would continue as it is. Eurozone ambition to become the biggest power in the world would be shattered. That's the only thing. So it's more of a political ambition than anything else. No, euro would rise. Euro has been dragged down because of this. A low economy is dragging down the value of euro actually. All others are prosperous economy. They are providing buoyancy to euro. This economy is bringing it down. So if it is cut off, euro actually gains. But that's a very tough decision to take. It's like a surgical operation, as I said.
Do you think that is it a challenge to Indian stock market?
See, directly, as I said, Greece is not connected with us. But if ripple effect is certainly bad, it happened in Europe, it happened in China, and if this meltdown occurs, see what happens is, if first thing, if it happens in Europe, and if they keep on sustaining Greece, the cost of capital in Europe will go down. Cost of interest in Europe will go up. Sorry, will go up because they're sustaining an unsustainable unit. The interest cost would go down there. Interest, if it goes up, it becomes more attractive as an investment destination to the institutional investor than India. If because of sustaining Greece, the interest rises, that becomes flight of capital for India and is again to Europe. That can be it. That can be one effect. Second could be the perception effect in the stock market. What happened in China was a perception effect. If something like that happens, if there is a recession comes in the mind first, then on the ground reality. If things start going wrong, there is a depressing situation around. That could be a worldwide ripple effect also. So that could be there. But immediate effect could be the rise in interest rate in Europe, resulting in flight of capital from India to Europe, which is quite possible. FII is a very, very volatile investment. Except the pension funds, most of the funds are like ready to go out to a better pasture. Yeah. Yes. True. Exactly. It does not change actually. Unfortunately, they say people who don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it. So this is what has happened. Unfortunately, things do not change. This is, as I said, it's not pure economics. It's more of politics, less of economics that is happening. I can give you more examples. Like 29 depression, you very rightly said about that thing. It was failure of the political system, not of the economics. Post-war Germany, 1952, West German was absolute bankrupt. And interestingly, Greece was the biggest creditor. They owed a lot of money to the rest of the world, including half of the loan to Greece. German came forward and they said we are in no capability to pay, and the loan was reduced to 25% of the total amount. So it was waived, 75% was waived off, including by Greece in that year, and Germany got going. So it was a strong, courageous decision taken in that year, which survived that nation, which saved that nation. I hope something like that would happen here.
Sir, in your opinion, if supposing they go back to the old currency,
Yeah.
do you think it will be a good investment opportunity for the entire world over?
Depends. See, depends upon how what intrinsic value that currency carries. If the economy continues to grow, which means add value to the currency, is going to be good. If because of printing of currency, the economy deteriorates, if the country does not improve its statistics, the 5 statistics that I talked about, unless they improve that, the currency would continue to fall in value. Okay, so either if they peg it to a particular rate, let's say they peg it to 75% of euro, So it's 75% of euro, but actual intrinsic value is only 50% because of the deterioration in the quality of the economy. If this is so, nobody would accept that currency. And if they don't peg it and they keep it on the market forces, then market forces will determine the value of the currency.